what do I want the next wave of filmmakers to get out of my behind the scenes. I don't want to, it's not necessarily, I hope you'll go watch the film. They're available. You can go do all of that. But realistically, I want to show you that you can do it for a lot less than you're currently doing it with. The fact that we have a film that captures a moment in time in our lives for a week where we only created, that's all we did. We didn't worry about literally anything else. The actors were mic'd up all day long. They could ask to be filmed at any time. They were in character the entire time. We were creatives the entire time. That's it. We just created. Welcome back into my studio. My name is Jerry. This was at a request of some of the people that follow me over on TikTok, was talking about how I make my films. And so today what I'm doing is I'm going through old hard drives to find some B-roll of me making the films that I'm putting together for a video series that'll be over on YouTube as well. So with that being said, let's get started. What I'm going to attempt to do today is I'm getting close to where I'm going to be able to do all this live. So if that's of interest to you, make sure that you like and subscribe, turn on your notifications, and that way make sure this is working. We're good. So to make sure that you get updates on all those kind of things. And I'm also going to try to do a screen record today. I'm not doing it live yet, but I am doing it for all the different camera angles. So you probably see them all going. If there's a different angle that you'd like to see, then drop it in the comments. So I'm using, at this point, 1, 2, 3, and then a screen record. So I'm using 4 different types of capture mediums, and I still have a lot more. I've collected a lot of cameras over the years. So including, I got this is the Canon ZR800 here, and I have some analog cameras, and I have some old point and shoot cameras here that are kind of cool. So like these little guys, and so I'll be playing with those. And basically, this is a way for me to test them as well, because I haven't used a lot of them in a long time. Because for so long, everybody was telling everybody that these cameras are terrible, they don't look good, and what I've realized is every camera is a tool, everything is its own thing, and so you use the tools that make the project that you want to make. So I'm going to throw a couple of folders up here, and when people were asking me how I make my films, I think that it requires me to, it's not how I make them, it's why I'm making them, and every film has had its own kind of specific journey or something that I've been challenging myself with or trying to learn. And so right now I just just finished a video that I was filming that was talking about how in our society there's a lot of things that are consuming our time, and so making sure that the things that are consuming your time are things that you enjoy. I really am trying to just use that as a way for me to move forward and to try to go through this process of, but it gave me a second to kind of reflect and think back on all the things that I've worked on. And so I'm trying to find some B-roll to put into those things. I'm also putting together a behind the scenes, like kind of breakdown of how I make my films. From my newest feature, sees the Carp. And so you can, if you'd like to support, you can grab a copy of that over on my website. But I'll be breaking down those scenes, and pretty soon I might be just giving away my first feature on here. I'm trying to decide if that's something of interest. My first film that I made when I was like 27 years old. Well, I made one before that. We're gonna see some stuff of that. But so what I did is I kind of pulled open these couple of hard drives here, and okay, so I pulled up these hard drives, and the thing that I was the most interested in was this feature, and so which was Seize the Carp, and a friend of mine, Caleb Phillips, credible filmmaker, he's finishing a feature right now, so keep going, Caleb. I can't wait to see it. And he came on this with us back in 2018, 2017. I'm sure I could find out where it is, so that's older than that, but I'm sure if I click on one of these, it might say what the time is. But Yeah, 2018. And so we made this film in 7 days for $7,000 with less than 7 people, and it was a challenge. So why was I making that film? I was making that film because I needed to push myself out of my comfort zone. I had a couple of features that were about to launch that had a lot bigger budget. Schedulings, things like that. If you've ever made a film, it really takes a perfect collection of time and energy and people to get everybody together, and it doesn't happen very often. And so that's why you don't see a lot of films that make it to the end, is because it's very, very difficult to do that. And sorry, I thought that camera stopped. I'm trying to figure all this stuff out. So why did I make that film was a challenge to myself. Also, the cinematographer, Kenny Keeler, had never made a feature at that point, really good friend of mine. And he was asking if I had any films that we could kind of make that were going to be in those lower budget that we could maybe do. And this film was originally, it was always going to be improvised, but it was originally about a relationship that was failing, a romantic relationship. And I just made a film called Little Hand. So I don't think I have a lot of behind the scenes on Little Hand on here, but I was making a film called Little Hand. And that film ended up getting in Rain Dance at London, which was awesome. And so I didn't want to make another relationship. I wanted to make a film that was about friends. And I wanted it to be a platonic relationship between a man and a woman, because what I'd realized from tons of film festivals and tons of movies is there weren't a lot of films out there that just had that relationship at the core. And so and I don't know why that happens, but so I wanted to play with this will they, won't they, which is a storytelling technique in film and creative writing, and where you kind of make people think that, is there a relationship fostering? And I realized that, this was never going to be that relationship, because they're just friends. And so I was like, what happens if we go down that? And with it being kind of a little bit experimental and things like that, it was very difficult. To get it off the ground. Also, with it being improvised, that's very difficult to find somebody that will go into that with you as well, because we shot this over like 7 days, no script. It's a travel movie, and so it was kind of an experiment. But I want to pull in here because I'm going to start breaking these down, and so I've tried to look through all of this footage that Caleb kind of shot, and you can see it's like from day to day, and so we can see kind of everything.
Once you guys have kind of established the reality, we have to go with it. But I need to have that off-screen prompt to him so I can get a reaction out of him. So even though you're not on camera, like when I cut together, it's gonna make it feel like you were.
Okay, that's cool. Yeah, so that's from the first day, and actually from scenes that we're not even using. We did something at the airport, ended up cutting it out of the movie. But I think what I'm talking about there from 2018 is we're trying to, as a group, figure out how we're going to edit this together. And so the actor that is my wife, we started filming this on her birthday, a couple days before our first year anniversary, and then what turned out to be one of my really, really good best friends, Charlie, and then Caleb, and then Kenny. We're in that car. So if you keep going through, you see that there we are. So we're just kind of like, we're really kind of trapped in there. Jane was driving, and so we had to realize that people are back here kind of thing, and so you got to be really careful with this. But so this was all in, let's see what this is.
So excited to like chill. I think it's just because we had like a gnarly month.
Oh yeah, no, 100%.
Like even for 2 days, yeah, like just knowing 2 days knowing that I do not have work, and then if work comes
like, Kenny, I think had just come off a long shoot. I'd been working on set a lot, and then we went right into this. I think we're talking about that. But so these are from day one. But then as we go through here, so like say day 4 and 5, where we start to open up the world, and we start to get out of the car, and so this is actually at my grandparents' house, and so this is yeah. So right before we're about to film, he's been on the trip now for a couple of days, and he's about to call his fiance and tell her about it because they've been without reception, and so that's kind of making everything stressful in their relationship. And so a little bit of background about the film. Basically, it takes place with two childhood friends after one of the friends' brothers has passed away unexpectedly, and they had talked about when they were kids about taking this trip up the PCH, and so we just did that trip, and it stemmed something from a little bit from my childhood, and I was, born and raised in Missouri and Kansas. Kind of my first memories are in we're in a trailer in a small town of a couple hundred people, and then I would eventually get to Kansas City, and then I would, go to college in a smaller town, and then I moved to LA, and I remember the first time I kind of saw the ocean on the PCH, and I'd seen that so many times in movies and things like that, and I was able to take that in as like a real human being experience. And so there was something about taking this trip in this movie that was, thinking about like what the things that we don't do because we can't afford them, or we don't think we have the time for them, or we don't have this, or thinking that we're running out of time, and then we start to force it all in there, and then we don't even really enjoy the experience because it's just about getting to the destination. And so this movie was, sorry about that car. This movie was more about that kind of space in between, like what happens when we're present, what happens when we do things just for the moment. We do it just because we want to be there and we want to experience that. And that's why we made the movie with only 4 people, because I really wanted to see what happens if you remove me as the director. So I couldn't really stop anything. I pitched this to everybody as like a film where we would be making like a narrative documentary. And so we would be going through it, and we would be, whatever kind of happens, we'll figure out the story as it's going. So let me see if I can find night 2 in here. This is gonna be good stuff to put in here, which I haven't looked in here in a long time. Oh, these are just some behind the scenes pics. Oh, these are great. I guess I didn't even know these were on here. Caleb was taking some pictures as well as some video. So those are the elephant seals up by north of Morro Bay by the Hearst Castle, if you've ever been up there. They happened to be there for like mating season when we were there. There's a scene in the movie. That was not written in the movie. We never thought about adding that in there. For one, I don't even know how I would orchestrate that. But E-Seal News here is also in there. It's one of the wildest kind of things I've read in quite some time. Oh, look at that little doggy. Yeah, these are kind of cool. Oh, and there's Charles. That's also cut out of the movie. We stopped at a gas station at some point, but we ended up not using that. Okay, let's go in here. Okay, there's so much stuff in here. Just to like change the angle a little bit.
But like stuff we did earlier today, it was about you. So you were talking like telling stories.
Oh, great. So this is, I believe, from day 2. So we went from LA to Morro Bay, and then we went from Morro Bay to what was it called? I think King City, maybe. We got a hotel, and so we tried to film this scene in there, and it was basically they had gotten separate hotel rooms because Casey's character's fiance didn't want him sharing a room with a woman, which we talk about in the movie of, friends just sharing space. I kind of wanted to flip that on its head as well of can men and women actually just be friends? And in my opinion, the answer is yes. I have a lot of friends that are just women, and so, but it's always been a talking point I'd heard growing up that men and women couldn't just be friends. And so I was like, okay, what happens if we use that into this film? And in this scene here, what we're doing is she's talking about, we ended up going to this hotel, and they're talking about now they're starting to have real conversations about Rachel's brother that passed away, which was her brother and Casey's kind of best friend, and they're kind of confronting what might have happened in there. And so the reason we did it in a way that we did it, they end up in separate rooms. They both have 2 queen beds, but then they end up coming into the same room, sharing a bed to have this really heartfelt conversation. And I thought the visuals around that were, in film theory and in film language would have you think that these two people cannot share that space. But what I realize is if you build this world and you communicate about it, then they can share it, and they can share this moment that they're both experiencing in real time, but they're experiencing it so differently. I think whenever we have loss in our life, we forget that, I talked about this in my first feature, the horror. There's a scene in there where she's talking to the therapist, and it's like, you might have lost a mother, but your brother lost a mother too. But whenever things happen like that, you lose a son, and like all these things that are in our life that we're called. So I'm a husband, I'm a son, I'm a brother, and if I were to pass, different people in my life would be losing a different person. We're not all losing the same person. So I thought that was pretty interesting. Let's go to some of these further days down here. So eventually we ran into a conversation. This is what I'm trying to find because I'm going to talk about this. Okay, this is on our way. So we stopped in a couple of towns north of the bay. It was so windy, and we ended up not using a lot of this footage. You can hear the sound from this onboard mic. This is also all the behind the scenes, so all of this is not color graded. But basically, they were going on a trip, and earlier in the week, it was improvised, like I said. And so earlier in the week, they'd had a discussion about some photographs that were handed that Charles had brought for Rachel. So Casey for Rachel, those are the character names. And it was just pictures from Rachel's mother, and was like, I would like for you to have these. And there were pictures of, her brother growing up and stuff, and they're all me. So if you watch the film, you'll see that those pictures are pictures of me as a kid. It's my family as a kid. And so why we did that is because, for one, I could license that because they're my photos. And for two, it was just kind of like a little bit of a, I don't know, kind of like, the Alfred Hitchcock homage, like where you put yourself into the movie really quick. And I thought this film was, it was very important to us to involve family members and things like that. And so if you watch the film, you'll see my wife's grandfather that passed away a couple years ago. So he's telling some stories in here. And we were basically thinking about, like, what will this film mean to ourselves, but what will it also mean to other people? And we're trying to find that line, but it was also a movie that was specifically for us. It was like, what are we capable of telling story-wise with the confines that we have? So, here it is, we're overlooking back to San Francisco, and here's clapping so we can get that was our slate, because we didn't want to bring attention to ourselves, so they were both lobbed up, and then we just clap. Here's the huge shout out to my mother-in-law for letting us use her van for the week.
What did we just do in what's the one just said?
Salute.
Anyway, what did you and Jerry just shoot?
I mean, it's all four of us. We shot a bunch of cool shots and then talking about stories. I think I just want to wrap my head around the story, but I don't think that'll happen until we get into post. I'm a very story-based director. But to answer your question, we just finished shooting a few montage type scenes in Soldados, or whatever the hell that town.
I love Kenny. One of the things that happened kind of every day, and this was something I knew was going to happen, was like we'd have a conversation at the end of the night. And it was usually all four of us over dinner about what kind of happened, what was important, what we can take to the next day. And I don't know if Kenny was watching. I think he was watching some of the footage at night to see what we had. But as a director, I don't watch dailies, which, say what you will about those things, but I don't watch them, and it's for a very specific reason. And the reason is that when you're working at these kind of budget ranges, I can't go back and fix anything because I don't have the money, time, resources, anything. And so if I'm also doing it improvised, I could never go fix it the way I wanted to anyway, because there wasn't a script and there wasn't a roadmap to get back to it. And so one of the things that I started doing as a filmmaker early on is I just didn't watch the footage until a couple of weeks after it was done. Excuse me. until a couple of weeks after it was done. And that allowed me a chance to watch it with new eyes and not judge what it was. Because when you're watching raw footage, even watching this back, you're just like, oh, some of this stuff is like, oh, it's out of focus and it's buzzy, like, and it's, the sound doesn't sound great, and oh, they're on the wrong side, and this and this and this. If I come in it like an editor, because usually I edit my own features too based on budget requirements, somebody driving by, on budget requirements, then what I'm able to do is I'm able to like transfer from a director to an editor, if that makes sense. And it allows me to take all the information as a viewer now and just go like, what really is important. It also just frees me up to not judge it as much. And that's with a script. Without a script, you know, if I had the budget, like I'd love to on the next film, if I had the budget to be able to have a rough cut by the end of shooting, but that would require another editor basically doing those rough cuts in the background. So, you know, if we were doing something improvised like this, I could look at it and go, okay, this worked, this didn't work. But what we realized is we just got better at it as we went, even without looking at it, because we were like, okay, this shot doesn't work, this shot doesn't work, these angles don't work. But without fail, like once every kind of couple of days, I think this might actually be the photographs. Oh no, this is, yeah, so this is the this is when we go to the carnival. There is no really B-roll on this camera. Let's see if it's on the other one. But when we went to the carnival, we ended up shooting on a tiny DSLR, and we put our cinema lens on it so we'd have it. But then we just acted like it was a stills camera. So that's how we were able to do that. But yeah, so here's, you know, Kenny. That's the camera right there. Is just a little bitty tiny stills camera, and it looks like we're just taking photographs. So but let's see if we can find, let's see if we have some footage from the, oh, this was just our celebratory Taco Bell afterwards. Yeah, so here we go. This is us on Ferris wheels, and let's see if we, yeah, so here it is, just a little bitty tiny camera.
Whoa, that's really cool. No idea.
Yeah, so yeah, this is us just walking around. So if you've watched the film, it's wild that the conversation came up in the middle of filming in the car. There was a photograph in there of me like going down one of those big slides. Let's see if we have some footage of that. Yeah. Oh. Yeah. So here's some behind the scenes footage of Kenny riding on and filming, which is just, we had a monopod and then we just went for it. So I would have never thought in a million years that you could shoot a indie film at a carnival. I would have never wrote that into a script. But in an improvised film, they saw that picture. The actor said something very off the cuff. Charles's character, Casey, said something along the lines of like, well, if we find a carnival along the way, I'll pay for you. Because they're talking about how they don't have the amount of money to go do the things that they would like to do. And I'm sure there's a behind the scenes in here somewhere of me going, as soon as we cut, we have to find a carnival. So we kind of looked it up. We found one that was like an hour north of San Francisco, which was kind of our stopping point. So we're like, okay, we can drive up and back. And it was it was like a state fair. And, you know, we bought ride tickets. We went in, we had fun, and we ended up, there was a lot of fireworks and a cool show at the end. And we were able to do all those things. And so one of the things whenever you're thinking about making your film is, I think, adjusting why. Thinking more about why am I doing this at this moment of time? Like, why this film? And is there a way that I can do it with less? And that has been my motto kind of moving forward, because I've realized the space in between films, this was 2018. I've been writing a feature since then. The pandemic happened, of course, those other things. I've made experimental films and I've taught a lot and stuff like that, and I'm still making headway on that feature. I've been writing on it since 2018, or since 2016. I was writing on it before we even made this film, and the goal is to make it next year. But you keep thinking about, like, how can you finagle this thing to work within whatever your current lifestyle is. So maybe you can film a day at a time. Maybe your feature is in real time and you could film it with 3 or 4 cameras over 2 hours and do 5 or 6 takes and then edit the movie together and you're done. I think it requires you to think a little bit differently about how much money do you really need? How much equipment do you really need? For this one, we used the camera that I'm filming you on right now. I bought that in a long time ago. It's an FS7 Mark I. I bought it brand new when it came out. I've had it for, well, probably close to 10 years now. And then we just rented really good lenses. Kenny had the idea, he's like, well, we can use this camera. Maybe we get better lenses this time around instead of a camera. And that will be what we use as our visual look. We'll use simplicity. We rented, I believe, 3 lenses and only used 2 of them. So we could have even gotten rid of the second one. We shot most of the movie on the same exact lens. And so I think it's just really interesting to look back through these things, including all the way back to, here we go. Like this is from back in, let's see really quick. Yeah, this is from, back in college when I was filming my very first feature for, and there I am. And so it's been a long road, and I think that if you keep worrying about this was them learning how to carry each other after they got in a wreck. If these are things that you really want to make and you really want to tell the story, then I think you figure it out. You figure out how to do it. And looking back through this as I'm trying to think about like what do I want the next wave of filmmakers to get out of my behind the scenes? I don't want to, it's not necessarily, I hope you'll go watch the film, they're available, you can go do all of that. But realistically, I want to show you that you can do it for a lot less than you're currently doing it with. And if you shift your mindset just a little bit away from like what will happen after the film is complete to like what will the film do now? Like when we made Seize the Carp, it was 4 of us and we still talk about it as like one of the best experiences we ever had on a film set. And it's my favorite film. I don't know if it's the best film I've ever made. Probably not. I'll make a lot more. But the fact that we have a film that captures a moment in time in our lives for a week where we only created, that's all we did. We didn't worry about literally anything else. The actors were mic'd up all day long. They could asked to be filmed at any time. They were in character the entire time. We were creatives the entire time. That's it. We just created. And I think that was a very beautiful thing. And I don't think that would have been possible had we waited for more money or had we went through rounds of crowdfunding or... So the 7 was a take on Dog Me 95, and it was a take on the filmmakers that I'd seen in the past that had just kind of shifted conventions and norms away and was like, what happens when you do with less? And I think there is a lot that's going to come out of your work, at least it has in mine, of the less that you can do it with, the better. And because you'll actually get it finished and then you can move on, you can learn. And if you start living your life like this isn't the only movie you're ever going to make, I think a lot of beautiful things open up. So if this was helpful to you, I'll drop the trailer right here at the end as a link, as a video you can go check out. You can grab a copy of the film, Seize the Carp, over at www.bronsecreative.us. And very soon there will be some just scene breakdowns of how we made these specific scenes. I'm going to pick 5 or 6 out of the film that I think are pretty interesting of how we pulled them together with just like some creative brainstorming and creative problem solving. And so, but I hope you have a beautiful day. I hope you worked on something while you were doing this. Maybe you were editing and listening to this in the background. This is totally for you to make the things that you want to make. And I hope that did that for you. So thank you for stopping by The Creative Process. I hope you have a beautiful day and we'll see you next time.
Guys, look what I got.
Sam, can I have this? Oh yeah, I thought that was good of you.
That we would have more time. I wanted him to come and see me.
How did you allow yourself to leave?
I don't know, I didn't feel like there was anything there for me anymore.
You don't have any stories? Anybody we went to high school with?
Well, I try to avoid everyone from high school, so literally every time I see someone out, I just don't want to remember anything from high school.
Sometimes it's happy memories and I'm laughing out loud, and then other times do you ever think about like conversation you would have if you could talk to Sam one more time, or what you would do if you had one more day together?
Sometimes, I guess.
People are content and small town life is okay for some people. It's like, don't you think that's just what you've been told, so you believe what you've been told? Because I left and I didn't come back and I wasted time that I could have spent.
When the snails die, then the crabs come and they take their shells and they take up residence.